short story long, I used to be what they call an auditor for those three-letter agencies. An auditor as in the last guy any organization wants to see at their door. I couldn't arrest anyone, so I used to make sure that there was no one left to it.
You gotta keep them separated.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast's Nobody Retrospective Series.
Don't call 911.
Hosted by Jason.
Maxwell's who?
Justin.
There's no way you were just some family man.
And Arnie.
Who the fuck are you?
Me? Nobody.
But be warned, this episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and strong language.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Go fix this shit.
Let's do this!
Today we're discussing Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, Connie Nielsen, Alexei Serebryakov, Riza, and Christopher Lloyd, directed by Ilya Naishuller. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Prepare for takeoff.
I'm your podcast host that hopes you assholes like hospital food. This is Justin.
And I'm Jason.
I used to work at a hospital, and they were so proud of their menu. In fact, it's the hospital Stuart was at for like 4 months. I don't think he enjoyed it as much as they enjoyed selling it.
Well, I mean, it's different when you have to get it through a tube, I think.
So, welcome to our Nobody retrospective series, an offshoot of our John Wick retrospective series, because this is an offshoot of the John Wick movies, right? I mean...
Absolutely. A lot of the same hitters in this lineup.
No surprise to find out that a lot of the creatives from John Wick are over here making this movie. The poster looks exactly like John Wick 2 poster, right?
Except it's fists instead of guns. But yeah, it's like the exact same poster. And I don't know when you guys saw this. I think I first saw this back in like 2022. I was just home alone, scrolling through Apple, saw a Bob Odenkirk action movie, went, well, that's a weird thing to say, a Bob Odenkirk action movie?
Yeah, same here. It kind of came out of nowhere, and we had been talking about John Wick and seeing this come out. I'm a big fan of Bob Odenkirk, so when I saw that he was doing something kind of out of the norm, he'd been doing Better Call Saul, but that's still kind of comedic. Him as the lead, yeah, I'm there. I'm watching this.
Yeah, and I didn't see it in theaters. This dropped in March 2021, which was still pretty close to the peak of COVID not going to theaters. My first theatrical film in 2021 till Black Widow, which was a little bit later. But it's interesting because at that time, in March 2021, you weren't getting a lot of people in theaters. And here you have an original action comedy. It's not part of a franchise. And still, they found a hit here. $60 million budget, and this thing made some money.
Yeah, this was filmed in 2019, supposed to come out in August of 2020, and with COVID, it had a couple different release dates. I legitimately don't remember this coming out in March of 2021, but it was number one at the box office. I mean, I don't suppose that's a huge thing, but it was estimated it would get $5 million in its opening weekend because COVID, and it actually got $7 million at the box office and ended up globally making $60 million on a $16 million budget. The history of this I found really interesting. As part of this retrospective, I decided I'd get Bob Odenkirk's autobiography, and it was kind of funny because this movie got delayed like hell, and Odenkirk wrote his autobiography after filming this, but before it was released. All the commentaries on the disc were done long after filming, but the movie still didn't have a firm release date. Like at one point, the director's like, I hope we go to theaters.
Oh, that's interesting. So they had no idea that they were a hit because it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah. And I learned quite a bit about Odenkirk. Justin, you said you're a fan. I've been a fan of this guy forever, but I couldn't really tell you where from. You know, he just was that funny guy who was in stuff in the 80s and 90s. And looking it up, I think he appeared in some sketches in SNL in the 80s and 90s. He was a writer, and so sometimes he'd get on there. And I know the big thing he's known for is that Mr. Show that he did with David Cross, but that's on HBO, and I didn't have HBO in the mid-90s, so I never saw that.
But I bet you had Fox.
Yeah, did you not watch the Ben Stiller show? Holy cow, that was game-changing TV.
I watched all of the Ben Stiller show, and it introduced me to Janine Garofalo, but wasn't he just a writer for that show? Was he actually in sketches?
He was one of the four. It was Stiller, Janine Garofalo, Andy Dick, and then Odenkirk, who to me, when I'm watching it, I'm like, is that the old guy? Who's this old guy? I feel like the man hasn't changed in terms of his appearance. A little more wrinkly all these years later, but still the same old Odenkirk.
He must be a nice guy because he started writing at SNL. He actually started at Second City, and he was working with Chris Farley and Adam Sandler and things before SNL. Went over to SNL, didn't love it there, but that was when Ben Stiller was on SNL briefly. And then Ben Stiller took him to the Ben Stiller show, which didn't last long. But then Conan O'Brien hired him to write for Conan because Conan was also an SNL writer. He meets people and people are like, we like you, come work for us.
If you're talented and kind, they say you can work forever. When I looked back, this guy was there all through my childhood in the 90s. I mean, we talked Ben Stiller. He wrote for Larry Sanders. Conan. He wrote for Dennis Miller's show. And he wrote for Chris Elliott's Get a Life.
Oh, man. I did not know he did that. I loved that show at the time. What I learned in his autobiography, what he wrote, he created Matt Foley, motivational speaker for Chris Farley. So that's Chris Farley's most known thing is living in the van down by the river. That's Odenkirk. I mean, obviously, Farley brought it to life.
I mean, Odenkirk has his fingers in so much of comedy over the last 30, 40 years. I mean, I don't want to say he discovered Tim and Eric, but his clout kind of got them on Cartoon Network or Adult Swim with Tom Goes to the Mayor, and then they kind of blew up with their own show. So he's kind of in this nebulous world of comedy, and he's just always been around. If he hasn't been on screen, he's been writing and developing. He's just one of these guys that I think if you're not paying attention, you might not even know who he is, but he's been influential for decades.
Where I think I probably just got to know him, like so many character actors, was through sitcoms. I watched a lot of Dr. Katz, Professional Therapist on Comedy Central. He was on that. He had guest spots on Just Shoot Me, News Radio, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Arrested Development, How I Met Your Mother. You know what really clicked for me, though, was he was in an episode of Seinfeld that I remember so well. It's the one where George isn't having sex and he gets really, really smart.
Yes. And Elaine gets really dumb.
He was Elaine's boyfriend in that episode who couldn't pass his medical certification exam and was blaming sex with Elaine. And what's funny about that is who else got a start on Seinfeld? Bryan Cranston as the dentist.
Tim Whatley.
Yes. So when I was watching Breaking Bad and catching up on that, it was weird to me to start Breaking Bad, to see Bryan Cranston, who I knew from Malcolm in the Middle, and I'd even seen Why Him before I started Breaking Bad. I mean, Bryan Cranston was a comedian to me. And so it's like, why do you have him as your lead of this drama show? And then I got totally sucked in. And then they bring in Odenkirk. I'm like, is he going to be the comic relief? And then Odenkirk went dramatic. So it's like, I couldn't believe this guy had dramatic chops. I do want to give a shout out though. Odenkirk did direct one of my guilty pleasure movies and I didn't know he directed it. Let's Go to Prison, starring Will Arnett, Dax Shepard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
That movie is so much funnier than it has any right to be.
It really feels like a Saturday Night Live movie come to life, right? Like one of those where they had a skit in mind and they tried to blow it up to an hour and a half.
It does. And Will Arnett is like SNL adjacent. Sometimes I forget he wasn't on SNL. I mean, he was married to Amy Poehler and all of that. He also directed one that is very SNL. I haven't seen it. I think you have, Justin, The Brother Solomon.
Yeah, it's all right. I won't give it a recommend or not recommend, but I won't say it's super duper Bob Odenkirk's best work. It just kind of feels like a project, to be honest with you.
That's what he said about Let's Go to Prison is it wasn't a passion project for him. You know why I like it, and I didn't know this until I read his book. It was written by guys from The State from MTV. Thomas Lennon and Robert Ben Grant wrote Let's Go to Prison.
That was a good show.
Yeah, I actually have been rewatching it lately. I found it on Web Archive. It holds up. And so Odenkirk is just a guy who I've liked for decades, even if I haven't gotten through Better Call Saul. I liked what I've seen of it, just haven't stuck with it.
Ooh, I don't know how you do that. That's one of those ones that I watched week to week when it was out, and it was just like I couldn't wait for the next week. If I had the opportunity to just binge it, I wouldn't be able to stop.
I didn't have cable, so I never watched Breaking Bad, and I didn't watch Better Call Saul, and I'm always churning in and out of Netflix, so I'm never there long enough to commit myself to either one of those shows. But I mean, I know who Odenkirk is, and I would say that his success in those shows is the reason why he's starring in this movie tonight.
I was honestly surprised how much he was involved in the creation of this. This wasn't a project that was being dreamt up by the guys at 87 North Productions, you know, David Leitch's studio that puts out all of these action projects like Atomic Blonde and John Wick and all of that, Bullet Train. But Odenkirk saw the end of Better Call Saul coming. They were telling him we have this many more seasons, and he's hustled his way through Hollywood for decades, moving job to job and doing what it takes to get work. And he's like, I need to start my own production company so that when Better Call Saul is over, you know, I've been doing Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul for so long, I need something that I can make my own projects. Well, he got a call from a friend of his who was overseas, and Better Call Saul was there translated into a foreign language, and apparently it was a real big hit there. And so Odenkirk was like, I need to do something global. People around the world apparently know who I am. Let's do something not dialogue heavy. Let's do an action film that can be consumed everywhere and really break out these people who like me in foreign countries. It was a really strategic move for where to position himself career-wise after Better Call Saul.
He was aware of the international appeal.
And then also, it was personal. He had 2 home invasions, one of which he won't talk about, but he said it was really distressing for him and his family. So he started hiring writers to write him an action film based upon a character who had a home invasion and goes on the warpath because of it. But nobody was buying into it. All the scripts were coming in very comedic. Even Odenkirk's own wife, who's also his manager, was saying, this is not the right project for you. What are you doing? This is not going to work. And finally, Odenkirk got with Derek Kolstad after several other writers took stabs at writing an action film for him. And Derek Kolstad, we know very well, he wrote the first 3 John Wick films. And he came up with this plot, which I think he kind of took a draft of John Wick and changed it ever so slightly, erased certain names, put new names in, erased special coins and added gold bars, and
took the dog out, put the kitty cat bracelet in.
Honestly, I wouldn't be too upset if this was the expanded world of John Wick. We've sat through how many John Wick sequels and now spin-offs. To me, I think that world might have been better if we focused on somebody different each time rather than just following John Wick's story. This might be, to me, a better sequel to the original John Wick.
That's interesting you say that, and I have a feeling that the Wick franchise may take that turn even further as we go into the future. But I kind of see this as one of those movies that I call them like assassin comedies. But the ones we get these days in this era, they are all kind of influenced by Wick, and they have the emphasis on the fight choreography, the camera movement, and the gunplay. But, you know, this one has that character contradiction. You're not supposed to think he's a badass. You know, he's just a mild-mannered nobody, as the title says, but he used to be an assassin assassin. He used to be Hattori Hanzo, that kind of a thing. I started to think about that concept and how far it goes back. I went back to True Lies. There may be some stuff that was before that, but you think about True Lies or Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Those are the ones with the kind of hidden identity, but you're living in the suburbs thing. I feel like a more recent Wick-like example for Nobody might be Love Hurts that came out earlier this year.
That is a David Leitch production. That is coming from this 87 North.
Just another case of he used to be a badass and don't make him be bad again or it's going to hurt.
Yeah, the wrong guy for the right job. Novocaine just came out earlier this year, same type of thing. It's a genre that I think's having a moment, and we're here because this movie did well enough that a second part's coming out here next week.
Yeah, I mean, just think of how many of these there are. You mentioned it, Jason. I remember I discovered it on TV Tropes at one point, that there's a whole category of hidden badass. But, if you look at recent movies, Denzel's The Equalizer. There's a franchise I'd love to cover sometime. A History of Violence is one we covered, where everybody overlooked Viggo Mortensen and how big a badass he is. Accountant 2 just came out. There's another one. I kind of feel like that Rami Malek movie too that just came out. Every Jason Statham movie fits this category, right? Every single Jason Statham movie is the hidden badass trope. It's different though when you bring in Bob Odenkirk, who's 62 years old right now. So you're going definitely secret badass because he's an older man, whereas even Keanu Reeves, when he started John Wick, was about 20 years younger than that.
And I think you might have tapped into why this movie was a bit of a hit in theaters. Grown-ups go see movies too. They made Equalizer films a complete smash. All those Liam Neeson movies, the ones that make it to theaters, the Taken movies make money. The Naked Gun's making money. There's a word, it's called dadcore. I saw dadcore action movies is apparently where nobody falls into.
So yeah, Derek Kolstad came up with this plot, and Bob Odenkirk started training for 2 years for this. And I love what he said. He's like, I didn't want a 6-pack because I'm not supposed to be that guy. I got a 2-pack and I was happy with it. And he does a lot of these stunts himself. And Derek Kolstad has a relationship with David Leitch. To be honest, when I put this on our schedule, I kind of thought either David Leitch or Chad Stahelski directed this. But no, David Leitch was busy doing Bullet Train at this time. So this was directed by Ilya Naishuller. Keep in mind, this was being made 2016 is when they started really working on the script. 2017, 18, they were getting everything together. This guy was a big name at that point. He'd broken out with a movie called Hardcore Henry. Have either of you seen it?
That's the first-person perspective movie, right?
Yeah, I had heard of it, but I hadn't watched it. I thought, since we're reviewing Nobody, I'll go see this guy's breakout film, and it is something. I have to say, it's a great demo reel. I see this, and I'm like, give people involved with it more work, but the first-person perspective does not work in this at all. It's like, I want to see the action occurring. I want to see the protagonist get hits and give hits. I don't want to just see fists flying in front of me. I think the whole thing, from what I read, was filmed on a GoPro. And they have a cameraman / stuntman as Henry. And if you couldn't have a thin enough character, he's also a mute. He can't talk throughout the whole movie. So everybody's just talking to him and attacking him. And he has amnesia. It starts almost like RoboCop. He's waking up in a lab. They're attaching artificial limbs to him, saying he just survived something, but he can't remember what. And then the lab gets broken into, and it's a constant chase film. It's a sci-fi film. The bad guy turns out to be telekinetic and can start throwing things around. There's a lot going on with it. Charlton Copley was amazing in it. He has 8 different roles, and it's explained why he's 8 different people later on. He's sometimes British and sometimes not British. It's just what is going on with this movie? I just couldn't get my hands around it, no pun intended. I can't recommend it. It's not very good. I got really tired of the POV 15 minutes in, and I still had 75 minutes to go.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it worked for what it was supposed to be, right? I mean, it's a calling card for a new and upcoming director, and here we are almost 10 years later still talking about this thing that most everybody hasn't seen, but like I knew what the premise was. I knew that it was first person and still haven't seen it. So hey, kudos to him. He dropped a calling card and it got him where he's going.
Yeah, it got him out of Russia. I mean, he is a Russian-born director who made this film. He got Charlton Copley and Tim Roth, a couple of Brits to show up for some scenes, but a mostly Russian cast. And he got handpicked to do this movie out of it. Plus, it made money. It was a flash in the pan that was kind of a critical darling for a while and like a in-the-moment talking point movies that in 2015 everybody was excited to discuss. But no, I'd say I would have hated to watch it on my Apple Vision Pro. That much first person to do me in.
Well, let's talk about a movie it sounds like we're all excited to discuss. Arnie, give him the plot of Nobody.
Bob Odenkirk is former government assassin Hutch Mansell. Years ago, he retired, got married to Becca, played by Connie Nielsen, had 2 kids, and took a desk job working for Becca's father, Eddie Williams, played by Michael Ironside. No one knows about his bloody past. But one night, 2 thieves break into his house. When Hutch notices their gun isn't loaded, he lets them go, but when his daughter's kitty cat bracelet goes missing, Hutch uses his skills to hunt them down. Not only don't they have the bracelet, it turns out it was just under Hutch's sofa, they were stealing to help their sick baby. Hutch leaves, pent up, so he actually gets excited when 5 drunk Russians get on his bus and start to harass the passengers. Hutch was spoiling for a fight and he gives it to them. Hutch is stabbed and beaten, but he walks away while most of the Russians go to the hospital and one of them goes to the morgue. The dead Russian's older brother is Russian mob boss Yulian Kunitsov, and he vows to avenge his brother. He sends men to Hutch's house, but Hutch kills them all. Hutch sends away his wife and kids to be safe while he deals with this. Yulian also sends 2 men to a nursing home to kill Hutch's father David, played by Christopher Lloyd, but David is ex-FBI and waiting for them with a shotgun. Hutch has to burn down his house to hide the evidence of the slaughter that occurred there. Then he goes to face off with Yulian. He has broken into Yulian's compound and burned all the Russian mob money Yulian had been guarding, and Hutch tells Yulian we can call it even, but Yulian goes with the rest of his men to kill Hutch. Hutch leads the mobsters back to the metal factory where he works by day. He's rigged it with booby traps. Also waiting there is Hutch's dad David and Hutch's sniper brother Harry, played by Riza. The 3 men kill all of Yulian's goons, and Hutch ends up using a claymore to blow up Yulian himself. The mobster's beaten. We jump 3 months later to see Hutch and his wife buying a new house, while David and Harry are taking a lot of guns somewhere as credits roll.
And we start with Hutch in interrogation, find out that a lot of this movie is going to be told to us in flashback.
I hadn't remembered that. When we start and see him all bloodied, I didn't realize this was going to be basically the end of the film. Everything has happened. He's in an FBI office. They're asking him who he is, and his pat answer is, we know he's going to say nobody, but then they cut to the title of the film.
Even right up top here, it's filled with intrigue. What is he doing? He's sitting at an interrogation table. He's got a handcuff on. He's lighting a cigarette. He's pulling out a can of tuna, opening it up with one hand, and then he produces a kitten out of his coat. Like, what the hell is going on?
I did love the kitten, and even watching the whole thing, I'm still a little confused about the kitten.
Yeah, I have questions about the kitten too, but right away we see that he is some sort of a badass. I mean, just the way that they're doing it in slow motion. And smoking is not good for you. Kids don't smoke, but I can't deny it. It looks fucking cool.
It's funny because Odenkirk and the director were both bitching on the commentary about how they had to do that scene twice, once without the cigarette so that they could have a TV and airline friendly version of the movie.
So right out of the gate, we have a character that I think is popping off screen and begging questions out of your viewer. Like, who the hell is this guy? What the hell happened to him? Why is there a kitten in his coat? And I think it's a great way to start a movie. Like, if you weren't familiar with Bob Odenkirk and you just pop this movie on, I think this scene with very few words sets the tone perfectly.
It does set up a bit of a mystery because right coming out of the scene, we are going to go into Hutch's routine and we're going to see that he is one of these guys who's just kind of stuck in a rut.
I absolutely love this montage at the beginning. I do think Odenkirk has become an amazing actor, much like Bryan Cranston. I don't know if working on Breaking Bad puts you through some training that makes you amazing, or if the casting directors of Breaking Bad just see something others don't see and brings it out of people. But Odenkirk's entire body language in this wordless opening montage of going to work, swiping the Metro card, going to bed after his wife every night, and you can just tell he's not getting any. The wife's always asleep by the time he's getting to bed.
I mean, they've got pillows up between them. That's a marriage in trouble right there.
And the one thing that's interesting, though, it's interesting for two different reasons, is in the midst of this horrible routine, he always is doing pull-ups at the bus station, and it's while staring at a billboard of his wife who runs her own business. And so I can't tell, like, is he using anger and resentment of his wife to, like, get the energy to do the pull-ups? Or is it that, like, he loves his wife, so he's trying to stay fit for her and staring at her while doing the pull-ups?
A little bit of both, Arnie. I think we'll find out later that he truly does love his wife and family, but also I think it's just kind of, this is the life he's now chosen, and this might be fueling him because he feels a little emasculated in this new life.
Yeah, he may have that exercise routine being the only thing that he's hanging on to from the previous life, the one that he gave up. The montage starts to speed up with the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday headings, and I think we get 3 weeks of this routine, and the movie's going to drop us back in on Monday of the 4th week.
Yeah, you just get so much from so little right there. And then, yeah, one night there are two robbers breaking into his house, and his son got one of them down, but the robber has a gun, points it at Hutch. Hutch could have gotten the guy from behind with a golf club, and he doesn't. And that's another point of intrigue, is why doesn't he when his son is at risk?
Also, he calms the situation down. He tells the other two to get out. He tells his son to let the guy go. And the guy gets up and punches his son. So now there's tension between him and his son. His son thinks he's an ineffectual father who can't protect the family or a wussy. And so now him and his son are kind of butting heads over this.
And that's got to be maddening. I mean, I can't relate. I'm not a father. But if you have a wife who's not really showing you a lot of respect, you can't even get the garbage men to slow down to take your trash every week. How many cans of trash do they have built up? He never gets the trash picked up once, from what I can tell. And to have all of that going on, and then to have your son think that you are weak. The cops come and kind of laugh at him. They scoff. It's rare that you see someone scoff, but that cop scoffed.
He definitely scoffed.
I think this is just to further the idea that this man is just ineffective, ineffectual. He's been completely castrated by this suburban life. This is the part of the movie that the audience members can probably relate to. I'm not sure that they could all relate to the action stuff, but I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of men in the audience that can probably relate to, you know, having a connection with your wife that's just disappeared, not the emotional distance that you might have with your children. And you mentioned it, Arnie. I don't have a son, I have a daughter, but if she ever looked at me the way that Hutch's son kind of looks at him, like, what, why? You didn't do this? I mean, yeah, you would feel complete failure. And the thing that we know about this guy, we don't know it all yet, but we know the guy's not a failure. It's a man who's actually pretending to be this sort of wimpy character.
I'd argue he actually is a failure. He once was somebody, you know, much like those high school jocks, like your Ed O'Neill from Married with Children, who can't stop talking about that game they played when they were 18.
Yeah, well, he scored 4 touchdowns in that game for Polk High, so...
Damn straight.
That was a big deal.
But I feel like that's where Hutch is he once had glory, but now he's not pretending to be ineffectual. he is being ineffectual. He cannot keep excitement with his wife. And then the next day, his son has to do a report on a veteran. And, he's trying to play up, I was just an auditor. It's not very interesting. And then even his wife is like, why don't you talk to your uncle? Your uncle actually saw action.
Oh, God, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
I recognize what you're saying. My interpretation is that this is a guy who is faking it. He's faking it. He's faking himself as sort of this wimpy man. And what's even more frustrating to him is, and we're going to see it in some of the scenes that continue, it's not just that cop that scoffs at him. In these early parts of the movies, he is just surrounded by these guys who act so tough, this performative masculinity. The next scene where he ends up going into the office, he speaks to his brother-in-law, and the brother-in-law is like, take this gun, you protect my sister. This guy thinks he's such a tough guy too. Michael Ironside comes in and kind of takes a dig at him.
I think you're both right, but I think the thing is here is I kind of look at it as Smart Hulk, right? He's not Bruce Banner anymore. He's not the Hulk anymore. He's Smart Hulk. He's kind of got the best of both worlds, and he's realizing what he gave up now by trying to keep that rage monster down, and I think it's starting to boil up. We don't know how many years he's been out of the game, but we can assume at least 15, 16 based on his kid's age, and his wife, I don't think she's aware of his past.
That I wondered about.
I think we're going to find out more about that in the sequel, but I didn't think she knew when I was watching this movie for this review, but in listening to the commentary and things, and they point out certain things, like after the bus fight we'll get to, she says, oh, it's like old times. And so they apparently worked on set about the background of their relationship. The only reason Connie Nielsen took this role, Connie Nielsen, who of course was in Gladiator and things, she only did this because basically she thought she'd have more to do in a sequel. So that's why she took this thankless wife role.
Well, maybe she will. Yeah, she does not have a whole lot to do in this first one, no.
Let's talk real quick about the casting here, because I think everybody's working out great. And Arnie, you brought up earlier that Bob's no spring chicken. I mean, he's in his 60s now, even though this movie was shot 5-6 years ago, that put him mid-50s. But he's raising a family as if he's like mid-40s, right? This feels like a younger family. He's got a daughter who's, 8, 9 at the most? Maybe he was a late starter with a family. But what I'm saying is it doesn't feel like an old guy raising young kids. He could be in his mid-40s here, and I wouldn't bat an eye at that.
I think he plays younger than he actually is. I don't look at Bob Odenkirk and think AARP.
There's some shots in Better Call Saul where probably makeup and stuff, but he can look older for sure.
My father was in his 40s when I was born, so being a teenager with a 50-something father isn't unusual to me, so I just kind of rolled with it. But also, I think movies have jaded me because, Jason, you brought up The Naked Gun, and my wife said to me when we saw it, oh, finally, an age-appropriate love interest for somebody, Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson, and I'm like, she's still 20 years younger than him,
It's close. It's closer than that. I looked up. I'm always curious about age gap relationships.
She's in her 50s, he's in his 70s. So I think Hollywood has me thinking that, yes, a 55-year-old man and a 30-year-old woman are absolutely normal.
Yeah. My point being is it doesn't stand out here. Like, it's never a distraction to me from the plot, thinking, oh, here's an old guy, a younger wife, younger kids. It all just feels natural.
It does. I think they play that very well. I do think Connie Nielsen is a good choice for a wife. Again, age appropriate and everything, and yet an actress who's been around for a while. But yeah, I do think Hutch created a bad situation for himself. He made bad choices when he retired and decided to go work for his wife's father at this company.
Did you recognize that as Michael Ironside?
I didn't. I gotta say, I saw Michael Ironside at a con not all that long ago, and the man looked like I expect Michael Ironside to look. This looked a little bit like Michael Ironside went the Wilford Brimley route.
Yeah, I thought it was Stacy Keach. Like, I knew I recognized him, but...
Yeah! Especially with the facial hair. He did not look like the Michael Ironside I've been watching since Scanners and Top Gun and Starship Troopers.
No, just kind of Midwest schlubby type of guy. And hey, great, he's got some range then. You usually see him as a badass and a military guy, but here he's kind of the boss of a machine shop, I guess.
There is an entire cut subplot from the movie. I'm glad they cut it. Where, you know how there's this Department of Defense guy later on that's looking up information on Hutch? It wasn't the mobsters trying to get the information. It was that apparently after 15, 20 years of marriage, this guy finally wants to know about his son-in-law's military record. And so he was the one digging it up, and the barber actually had a more expanded role, showing up with Michael Ironside and being like, you're going to be forgetting all about this now, aren't you? And the guy at the DOD had scenes with the barber because apparently just looking up Hutch set off alarms that got the barber's attention. And so it was all the DOD guy scenes were related to Michael Ironside learning about his son-in-law, not about the mob.
I gotta say, that guy who plays the DOD guy is not Jim Rash, but it's kind of funny, like, he's kind of had a parallel career to Jim Rash. Like, they both kind of played principals on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon shows for a while there in the late 90s, early 2000s, and Jim Rash kind of got big with Community, and there's even a subplot there where they brought this guy in as a fake dean because he looks so much like Jim Rash. It's always fun to see this guy, but I always think, not Jim Rash. Awesome. Good to see him working.
But yeah, so Ironside had more to do in the deleted scenes, but it makes no sense that after 15 years this guy would be digging it up. It makes a lot more sense that the mobster would be looking it up, so I'm glad they went with the way they went. But no, I didn't recognize Ironside. I don't know this guy who's playing the big talking brother. Even his neighbor, you know, you talked about all the machismo around him. Jim, the neighbor who just inherited the 1971 Charger.
And you know that's coming back.
Yeah, he rolls out blasting Pat Benatar's Heartbreaker.
You put a muscle car on the wall in Act 1, you better believe it's coming off in Act 3, right?
Oh, I knew for a fact. I'm like, you do not tell me about this engine in this car without telling me that this is going to be the car for the rest of the movie.
We get this at the beginning of the movie before Hutch gets into the action, but that's what I'm talking about. Every person that he meets that's a guy, they think they're so alpha. These guys are all trying to be badass, to cop the neighbor, the brother-in-law. Ironside has the subtle digs. It's like Hutch is confronted by this fantasy of toughness in every guy he meets, and he's the real tough guy. It's a little bit of a reflection of the times we live in, because this male toughness thing has been pushed to the top of everybody's feeds. You got these make-believe tough guy podcast hosts, not us, politicians.
It's performative.
There's the Jay-Z lyric from 99 Problems. You know the type, loud as a motorbike, wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. That is every one of these guys that Hutch meets in this movie.
Yes, this break-in, he was fine letting them take the money because we'll find out later he was able to tell when the gun was pointed at him that there were no bullets in the gun. He's actually telling this on the radio to what I think is his only friend. We're going to find out later it's his brother Harry, who's just on like this ham radio. He's in hiding.
And he's playing some music too because he's the Resurrector.
I'm digging Hutch's collection of analog technology, right? He's got record players in his basement. And he's eyeballing this classic car. He's got is that a ham radio, a CB? I don't even know it's that old. He's definitely not living in a high-tech spy world. He's kind of a dude who's had stuff from the 70s and he's kind of cool with it.
I loved his record collection because at his age, I couldn't decide if he's a vinyl collector or a guy with records.
Is he a hipster or is that just his music? I think it's just his music.
It costs too much to replace him.
He's not like Tommy Lee Jones. I'm going to have to buy the White Album again. We see that this is a frustrated man. I'm kind of getting shades of Falling Down from it, if you think about that movie, where Michael Douglas could only take so much.
Well, I think Odenkirk is just doing a great job with his body language. I mean, you could tell like the character's weary. It's from lying to himself. We'll see him leaving his office, going home. He's sitting on the bus. He's just kind of staring forward. He's got like domestic fatigue. And I think, it's because the frustration of having to pretend that he's not this kind of killer and deal with these people in his life.
Well, if you look at it that way, in the commentary, Odenkirk says his character is not a hero. At best, he's an anti-hero. And the way you phrase it, Jason, made me think he's a killer who has to deal with these people. And where my mind went is, well, everybody's a killer who has to deal with these people. It just is a question of who gets the gun.
You mean like all of us in our everyday lives?
Yeah, there are days where I worked with a guy where I was scared of an active shooter situation on multiple occasions. So it's it makes this breaking free less cheery the way you phrase it, because it's well, now is he becoming self-actualized? Or is he going postal?
Oh, yeah. See, I'm reading it as we are witnessing this man's second or third act come to light, right? We missed his entire young life where he was this auditor for some nebulous government agency, and we missed the beginning of his domestic life. We're catching up with this guy's story as those two things are starting to come to heads, and it's starting to boil up in him. And what we're seeing is him almost looking for any excuse to let it go again. That's why he goes out looking for the people that came into his house. He needs to release this anger and pent-up aggression that he's been feeling.
Also, I think it was one insult too many that they took his daughter's bracelet. He's had so much sand kicked in his face at this point, and his son's ashamed of him and everything. But the daughter is so young and so defenseless.
Yeah, a father's relationship with his son, that had to be a tough position for him to be in, because he knows he's not this weakling that his son is seeing him as, but he also knows as a father, you can't just start telling your son all this stuff from your past to prove him wrong.
And I got so confused. Again, I watched this movie once a couple years ago. I thought this movie was so John Wick that the people who broke into his house were mob connected and that he was going to go after this kitty cat bracelet, and that's what was going to start escalation of mob activities. Just like John Wick got into some words with those guys at a gas station, and so they went after his car and killed his dog, and then he went after them, and they turned out to be the son of a mobster, Russian mob at that. I mean, we do have a lot of closeness here, but one thing that's very different is, he goes through this montage of going to tattoo parlors to find the tattoo on one of the robber's wrists. And we get the scene, he goes and gets his dad's FBI badge, his dad in a nursing home, Christopher Lloyd, and more performative masculinity at this tattoo shop where everybody's talking shit to him and noticing the badge is 20 years expired and not him in the photo.
I thought it was cool that they picked up on it. It was good that the movie didn't let us on like he could fool everybody with that. Also, I thought it was interesting. We know this is the right place too because the montage has music, and when he walks into this tattoo shop, the music stops.
A lot of ironic music in this movie and a lot of montages in this movie. One guy in the tattoo shop gets a glimpse of Hutch's own wrist tattoo, the 7 of spades and the 2 of diamonds. The cut scenes tell me that guy at the DOD, that is literally the worst hand you can be dealt in Texas Hold'em.
Yeah. If you have a 7 and a 2, you're not going to make a straight, and they're the 2 lowest cards, so it's a shit hand. And apparently in this world, that means this guy knows that he's been dealt a shit hand, and he's not to be fucked with.
The tattoo artist looks at that and is just like, thank you for your service. He knows.
The vet leaves.
He pieces out and goes behind a door and slams like 4 or 5 locks, and the little door window goes shut. Probably the funniest scene in this movie.
And I love that he takes out the money and he shows it to those guys, and he's like, there's 3 types of people who would take out money like this and show it to y'all. People who don't know any better, people who are seeking to intimidate, probably not tough guys, and people like me who wish with every fiber of their being that someone would try to take it from them. That is a badass line.
There are a lot of great lines in this. You know, whenever I'm watching a movie for Now Playing, I'm jotting down any kind of one-liner that I think might be good for the credits and things. There are so many one-liners, some of which were written by Kolstad in the original script, some of which, like, I'm the guy who's gonna fuck you up, just came up with on the set. Just, they took a half page of dialogue and turned it into one badass line. But that tattoo place points him to the thieves' house, and he gets there, and again, I'm expecting them to be mob connected. I'm expecting this to be a big fight. I'm not expecting a baby on oxygen. Jesus Christ.
No, I know.
Yeah, now I gotta feel bad for the robbers.
Kind of setting this up already, right? Like, even when they were in the house, Arnie, you said that the John Wick world, we're thinking these guys are hardcore Russians or hardcore gangsters in there. No, I mean, I think even at the top, this felt like people who didn't know what they were doing. And now we're getting to see exactly why. They're just people down on their luck, made a bad decision, but they were doing it for the right reason.
Yeah, it works for me that these are not mobbed up gangsters. It wouldn't have made sense for Russian gangsters to come into his house looking to rob his watch or anything. And then they would have had to come up with like a convoluted connection. Regular people who are down on their luck, they made a bad choice. The real action is going to come when he gets on the bus after leaving these people's place.
It's so strange because he wanted that fight so badly, but he can't beat up parents who are just stealing for their sick kid. I love the scenes in this movie, and it happens like 3 times. And the first is on this bus where this car just wrecks next to him and these people are banging to get in, and he's like, please God, just open this door. And like 3 different times in this movie, he really wants the thing to happen that he shouldn't want to happen. He wants trouble to come for him because he knows he can handle it instead of wanting to walk away. You know, that's the thing with John Wick. John Wick is always, I want out. All I want is out. Just leave me alone and I want out. And everybody's chasing him. This guy, Hutch, he wants in. He wants you to come for him. It will make his day.
Yeah, he's realizing the life that he left behind is something that nothing can fill that void of, right? So I think this is him hopping back in, not necessarily to the life, because he just wants to beat some ass. He doesn't know that these are connected Russian guys. These are just some hoodlums that are drunk assholes getting on this bus to harass everybody on there.
Yeah, they're dying to be made an example of. So these jabronis, they come on. And did you recognize the one guy, Daniel Bernhardt? Because he's been in all these movies.
I know that he is the main stunt guy for Leech, and Odenkirk said he's like the one who trained him.
Oh, is that right? Well, good. He's coming back in Nobody 2 as a different character.
Yeah, he's been in Atomic Blonde. I think he was in The Fight in Atomic Blonde and in so many of these movies.
Ballerina, Extraction, you name it.
Yeah, he's just a real badass stunt guy. And this bus fight, though, first of all, you know, we've been talking about this movie for a while, but it comes so fast in this movie when they are going after this young woman on the bus, and you just know this could go very, very dark. And he gets in there, and what I love is he gets so beaten up. He gets stabbed. He gets his head bashed into the bus pole. He is not like The Rock, who has it in his contract, I will never lose a fight. Odenkirk gets beaten up and thrown out the window of the bus.
I mean, this is the showcase, right? This is to show that he actually is a badass, a real person who's going to take hits. He's not an action star. And his opening gambit is to pull out that gun and empty all the bullets right in front of him. If that happened to me, I'd be like, oh shit, I'm not fucking with this guy.
I mean, you were right, Justin. He's a little wobbly during the fight. It's like he's still trying to find his fighting sea legs a little bit, but he gets it. And what I love here is Odenkirk's acting. You see Hutch kind of coming alive in the fight. You could see it in the performance in his eyes. The character is coming back to life. This is what he does. It's what he's good at. And these guys on the bus are just giving him the chance, finally, to be real, to be him again. And then he pulls a pipe off the one part and beats the dude, and then no fucking way he's gonna give him a tracheotomy? Yeah. Wait, is that the right term for it?
I actually looked it up. It is not a tracheotomy. I thought it was a tracheotomy. In this case, it is a cricothyroidotomy.
Oh.
And any case, he pounds the dude away, and then he's got to cut open his neck and stick the straw in there. We never saw that coming.
But think about it, to keep us on his side, he only uses the pipe when that guy has gotten the gun that he dropped and the bullets he dropped and was trying to get a gun to shoot him with. And that's when he responded with near lethal force, but, to keep us on his side. He literally saved the cat at the beginning. And so now to keep us on his side, he's going to try to make sure this guy doesn't die right there. Use a dirty straw to allow him to breathe through.
And that's after he got thrown through the window. He gets back on the bus and tells the girl to run, so he saved her. And then it's just, slashing time.
I love how when he's done, he goes to the bus driver and like Han Solo in Star Wars, sorry about the mess.
I know it might be a budget constraint or whatever, but wherever they're shooting this movie, I think just the scenery adds to this doldrum of a life that he's living, right? Like all the city streets look abandoned and it's just some mid-sized town somewhere and there's really nothing going on. It's just really adding to the feel I think they're trying to set here of somebody who's past their midlife and starting to come alive with this crisis he's facing.
This film was shot in Los Angeles and then in Winnipeg over the span of some time, but they intentionally made it so that it could be any city. They didn't want you to be able to specify any geography or anything. I thought it was New York because Hutch is using a Metro card, and that Metro card design is very specifically MTA design. I thought that was specifically New York Metro, but I never see him get on a subway, so I guess he's using the Metro card for the bus.
Sure, in Winnipeg for New York, then.
And that card's going to come back. But first, Hutch goes home because he left in the middle of dinner to go track down these people. And his wife apparently was worried. She waited up for him. And he walks into the light and she sees that he's been beat to shit. And she's like, yep.
Yeah, well, she's in her feelings, though, because she's sitting there in the near dark with a bottle of wine. That's not the sign of, like, a happy wife. I'm going to call out here one thing. Connie Nielsen's a very tall actress, and I think they use that to their advantage in this movie because she, slightly taller, has a more composed posture in these early scenes than he does, and it kind of reinforces the power dynamic. Like, she's kind of looking down on him, and he's a little bit weaker. But it's going to be different after this fight because he's come back a new man.
Yeah, he lays it bare to her. That is like, I love you, but we haven't embraced. I like the way he phrases it. Is like, we haven't had sex in months and we haven't made love in years.
I think it's important to distinguish the two.
That's some very adult writing that I think a 14-year-old watching this movie might not get anything out of, but that's a very home-hitting run as far as writing goes.
There's the line where he says, remember who we used to be. That can hang on you if you've been married to somebody for a long time and the spark is gone, because time can dull the connection. And then you have a routine, you get into routine, the next thing you know, your routine replaces all the romance in your marriage. I think that people who are married or in long relationships can probably relate to this early stuff. Again, they may not be able to relate to the later stuff, but this early stuff, yeah.
And that's good, because you want to get the people to make a connection with the character early so that you follow them on their journey and stay on their side. So they're doing everything right here, and we think that this is over. I mean, we now see Hutch as a new man. With as many songs as they put in this movie, I'm honestly surprised Katrina and the Waves Walking on Sunshine isn't being played during the next day where he wakes up and goes for a run. He's not just going to do pull-ups at the bus station, cooks breakfast for the kids. He's going to make that lasagna that they love for dinner that night.
Yeah, I think it's the first time we see the sun in this movie. Like, it's been night and it's been overcast during daytime hours. Very purposefully shot. Yeah, you're right. He's walking on sunshine, Arnie.
But this is where we get introduced to the Russian mob, including Yulian.
This is such a hard cut. I watched this on Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime every once in a while, like, just slaps a commercial in the middle of a thing. I thought this might have been like a preview for some other show, because it's like, big title card, Yulian. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever this is. Oh, this is still the movie. Okay, here we go. I better pay attention.
It is exactly where the commercial came in, and for us, I have the movie going as we're talking, and I'm in the commercial now.
It's It's a natural commercial break. But no, this is actually an introduction to an as of yet unseen character named Julian, who gets out of a car and walks across the street without a care, walking in front of traffic. Cars are screeching to a halt in front of him. He walks right across the street, right up to the door of a club. Bouncer just kind of looks at him. We're following this very cool shot as he goes through this club. He gets a shot from the bar. He slaps some asses. Everybody loves this guy. He does a little coke, walks up on stage in the middle of somebody's performance, sings a verse, walks out of there, walks right into a meeting.
Julian is my guy, man. He knows how to party. I wish I could go in a club and get up on stage.
I wish I had that level of confidence to go in a club and do that, like, kind of silly dance he does. I'm like, that. What is that, the twist?
Well, you'd have mad confidence if you were wearing that jacket that he's wearing, I'll tell you that. Because that jacket just screams, I'm trying too hard.
There was a lot of ass shaking in that dance. But yeah, he's glittery and all over the place.
And every other guy that we've met up until this point, the guys that we've talked about, the ones who are pretending to be tough, we're going to find out that Julian actually is pretty tough. I don't know. I love guys like this. They're nature's clowns. We're going to find out he's kind of like Hutch, because he is going to like bust a glass and start carving up this dude who gives him the stink. Like, Julian is no phony.
He's no phony, but he's definitely enjoying the privilege of being the boss. You know, he owns the club. He's working with the Russian mob. Russian mob is going to make me be thinking John Wick no matter what. But here, we're going to get a lot of just exposition dump as his business partners are there talking about this obshak that he is holding on to for them. And yeah, I had to pause and Google what this is and find out it is a real thing. I had a wiki page and was talking all about it and things, but I thought maybe Julian might be like level 1's boss and some of these other guys might be the level 2 and level 3 bosses. But none of them are ever going to come back again. They're just here to set up that Julian is powerful, but answers to them and is holding on to all of their money, which is going to lead to a Joker Dark Knight kind of scene.
Or a John Wick, the first one kind of scene.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is a little exposition-y here, but I think it's very efficient storytelling. I mean, in this one scene that we just talked about, we get the sense that this Julian character is just the balls, right? Everybody loves him. Everybody's getting out of the way for him. He comes up and meets these guys, and we get a little power dynamic here. We understand that he does work for these guys, but at the same time, he's his own guy, and he's going to just straight up murder this one guy who didn't look at him right, and where you think that might cause some concern, and these other guys might, jump on him for that. They're pretty happy about it. They're like, well, he was a 3% stakeholder in the Obshak, and so now, hey, we get his portion.
That guy deserved it too, the shirt he's wearing.
And the fact that Julian uses a champagne flute as a weapon feels very, John Wick, a fucking pencil, or, very much like what we've seen so far out of Hutch. So it does have that kind of doppelganger bit, whereas we saw the montages of Hutch going through, and now we see this guy who seems to have everything. They also add a little bit here, again, I said this director is Russian. He felt it was really important, if we're going to be dealing with such a cliche as the Russian mob, we should cast real Russians and bring in real Russian character types and stories, which is where we get this Pavel character. Now, this is a Canadian actor playing a Russian, but one of the things the other Russians don't like is that Julian has a black Russian on his team, and this Pavel is going to say, and I never knew this until the director talked about it on the commentary, apparently in 1980, when the Olympics were held in Russia, a whole lot of black athletes went to Russia, slept with a lot of Russian women, and then went back home, and left a lot of Russian babies.
Did Dennis Hopper tell that story?
It was very hard for me to not make it sound like that, but yes.
Is there any deleted stuff with this guy, Pavel? Because we get the introduction to him and Julian sticks up for him because these assholes call him Othello and stuff. And Julian's like, this is my man. Don't talk that way. But is there more with the Pavel?
There isn't in deleted scenes. They talked about earlier drafts of scripts where they had him doing other stuff, but the way he's built up here, I did think he was going to be the primary henchman, kind of the odd job of the movie, you know, that would be the second to last kill, not somebody who's going to be taken out very easily later on in a car accident.
Yeah, he's definitely set up that way. I mean, he's standing right next to Julian as Julian bombs his way into the hospital, throwing chairs at his guys in bed and all that stuff. He's standing back there, and I'm thinking, is somebody from the hospital going to come check what's going on? Like, what is happening here? And I thought maybe, you know, Pavel would be the guy that's just like, hey, you know, stay back. We got business here.
I loved that chair just being picked up and thrown at the guy's head and then picking it back up. This guy's already in the hospital, already has broken bones, and Julian is just like slamming this chair into his ribcage again and again and again.
But you know it's real because Daniel Bernhardt's a stuntman. So he's like, hell yeah, throw the chair right at my head.
Yeah, now it makes me wonder if those were really his broken teeth and he just took caps off for the shot.
Oh, that's a nasty, nasty scene when he's like, look at my teeth.
But one of the guys there got Hutch's Metro card, and that's going to be enough for them to find out who he is. I do like that there's this hacker beta, and the way they've re-edited the DOD scenes is like, she's going to blackmail this DOD guy to get information, and she just sends him pictures of him doing some S&M stuff.
He tries to pull up the file and it's confidential. It's not there. He can't get it. So he goes down to the archives and finds actual paper records that he sends over to her.
And those are still heavily redacted, I noticed. I thought it was the Epstein files that were so many things blacked out.
Very topical. But yeah, she gets that information and she goes right to Julian and is like, here you go, I am out. So whatever is in there, we don't know, but it's enough to scare these hardened Russians into, one, knowing that they're dealing with a real badass, and it lets Julian know that he wants this guy alive.
And meanwhile, Hutch is having a great morning. You know, it's sunny, like you said. He's making breakfast, and then the phone rings, and then Rizzo lets him know that the guy he messed up has connections.
Go see the barber. Trust me, it's a text from an unknown number. And yeah, this feels very John Wick also, right? Where you had the sommelier and all of that. Here we have the barber who ironically isn't giving the shave, but getting the shave. I thought the barber would be the one giving the shave.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah, and Jason, you asked if there was more with Pavel. I felt like there's probably more with this barber. It's a whole bunch of dudes in suits hanging out in a barber shop. There's more backstory there.
It's a whole different movie.
No, I told you there was more with this guy. First of all, I recognized this guy's face. I had to look him up. He was one of the badasses from Resident Evil and also in Alien vs. Predator, who I liked his performance, even if that movie sucked. And he was in a couple of the Bond films and Punisher Warzone.
Colin Salmon's been doing it for a long time, and I think he's actually one of those actors who belongs in that Wick universe. It's surprising to see him here. He has not yet shown up in the Wick movies. We talked about the actors who have. When we did Ballerina, I remember talking about, we had Clancy Brown, and then you had Gabriel Byrne. Colin Salmon, I think, falls into that category, and this is the kind of role that he definitely excels at.
Well, what's funny to me is I see him and he reminds me of Lance Reddick, who was actually in that 2022 Resident Evil TV series. But I feel like they have similar energy. And like I said, there was more with him talking to the DOD guy and being intimidating, and then him talking to Michael Ironside and being intimidating. Here, the way that the final edit is, I feel like the barber could very well be back next week. He feels like the Winston of the Nobody universe.
Just so you guys know, they're kind of all coming back. Colin Salmon, RZA, Christopher Lloyd, they'll all be back for this sequel with some new faces. I looked at the cast list already.
So they're finding out about each other, and this is where the audience gets explained to them, if I hadn't already wikied it, what the Obshak is, the 401k for the Russian mob, and somehow the barber knows Much like Hutch, Julian is just kind of tired of being a mob boss and might take an out. This never comes of anything, and it's weird that the barber even knows all of this.
Yeah, but it feels like that's the type of character he is, right? He has that type of information. He's got guys on the street that know the scuttlebutt of what's going on in all these different dens of iniquity. So it doesn't feel like information that shouldn't be known to us.
And where we are right now is almost about halfway through this movie. And this is a very short movie. It's like 92 minutes, counting the credits. So there's a lot of stuff that you mentioned, Arnie, that's been cut from this film, but we don't feel like something's missing. The story for me stays pretty straight and I can follow everything. And I might ask, was there more with this character? But I'm not saying that I needed it.
No, I agree. This movie is svelte.
Ooh, good word choice, baby.
It is just exactly what it needs to be. No fuss, no muss. I am a fan of movies being the length they need to be. And Lawrence of Arabia, I wouldn't shave a minute from, and Nobody, I wouldn't add a minute to. It's exactly what it needs to be.
Things are about to really kick into high gear. Now that they both know who each other are, this is when Julian's going to send the guys to Hutch's house. And Hutch was having a wonderful family night, but now he's got to send everybody down into the basement.
Oh, this felt so John Wick. The basement, and then behind like the light switch to the basement is this like lockdown code, and how his house was secretly built to be a little bit of a fortress.
But also, since the tone of this movie has been set, and I think by this point we're starting to realize that this is somewhat of a black comedy, right? This isn't just action for action's sake. There's tension and all that stuff, but this does have some laughs to it. I'm getting a little bit of Grosse Pointe Blank here, right? Where the very end, where they're kind of having that gunfight in the house and just kind of having a conversation casually as it's going on. I'm getting a little bit of that going on here too.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I just liked some of the action here. Again, it's a badass line when he tells his wife, don't call 911.
Yeah, man, he was about to fuck shit up and I love it. He gets him a baseball bat.
And then he's kind of Jackie Channing it, you know, the hot water in the tea kettle, but then using the tea kettle as a bludgeoning device that embeds in somebody's skull. You can see in the background that like he didn't hit it and it fell next to the guy. He hit the guy with it so hard it's like a knife and it is just in his skull.
But his face is in the lasagna when he's doing it. That's what's so awesome.
He kicks some ass and he's doing really good, but he eventually does get taken out and he ends up in the trunk.
Well, they tase him, those cheating bastards.
Yeah, well, he was ordered to be taken alive, so...
I liked it because they did it right after he was doing his most badass thing, which was like standing on a guy's neck while using a stair rail to support himself. It was like this really badass move. But yeah, he gets tased and put in the trunk of a car.
I think it's important to point out, like the Wick movies, and we say Wick over and over again, and we know that the creative minds of Wick are here. The stunts are being done by Odenkirk. You know, the fights are being done by Odenkirk, and you can see him. And I think that is the selling point for all these movies. It's why we like them. So I just want to call out and compliment that part of it.
Oh, agreed. Odenkirk said that when he was doing this and doing all this training, a fellow actor who he wouldn't name, he said, why are you doing this? And Odenkirk said, well, I'm doing an action film. And the other actor said, you know, that's what they have stunt people for, right? And the director of this actually tossed some shade at Liam Neeson.
What?
On the commentary, because he's like, with Odenkirk, we could do these 6, 7, 8 chain moves in a single shot. We could have gone longer than some of the shots that the sets allowed us to do, as compared to Liam Neeson in Taken, where you have 8 cuts in the 5 seconds because he can only do one thing at a time.
So Hutch wakes up in the trunk of a car and immediately starts to make a plan. He breaks his thumb, I think, to get out of the handcuffs he's in.
Apparently dislocating your thumb is a way out of handcuffs if you can tolerate it.
Yeah, I'll point out that the one actress did it in John Wick.
Yes, that's right. What's her name?
Miss Perkins.
But he's immediately got a plan. He gets a hand free. He finds a fire extinguisher. He pops the trunk to see that he is traveling. And next thing you know, the dude in the back seat is in the front seat because he kicks the seat so hard. He goes flying into the front seat, immediately opens up that fire extinguisher, and the car crashes and flips.
I love the shot of the back seat of the car with Odenkirk's face and the nozzle of the fire extinguisher sticking out of it. It's just a funny shot. And then, yeah, that the whole cabin of the car fills with smoke. I'm like, okay, the car's gonna crash. That I saw coming. The car's gonna roll. That I didn't see coming.
What a great shot, too, because we see the car heading towards a dead end, and then we cut to just a light pole, center shot, and the car comes in from the left, just on its nose and then on its top.
And this is where we're going to say goodbye to Pavel, who we got introduced to, and we thought there would be more. We thought that Pavel might be the henchman guy who gets taken out second to last, but it turns out he's going to be the guy who's going to sit here and listen to Hutch's story as he's dying. And this is where we're going to find out, as Hutch is going to tell all of us what he used to do for a living and why he's living in the suburbs now.
Yeah, and I love the way he tells his story. I mean, he's telling it just like a real guy trying to remember a story. He talked about a certain type of gun. He has this guy, and he's got to clear the book, so he's got him on his knees, about ready to execute him. Talks about the gun. He's like, wait, maybe it wasn't that type of gun, so they shoot back, and it's now a different gun in his hand, as he remembers correctly.
He also can't remember the guy's name. He's like, is it Alan? Is it this other name?
But he lets this guy live. And this is, I think, where we get a little bit more of what motivates Hutch, right? Because he goes and checks on this guy later and finds out that this guy has cleaned up. He's no longer in the life. He has a wife and a family, and he's just living a clean life. And I think Hutch even says, I was jealous.
It's a story told in two parts. The first part is told here to Pavel, and then he realizes Pavel's dead, but the audience really needs to know this. So Hutch goes back home, and some of those guys are still like groaning and holding on to life. And so Hutch is going to put on some music and finish telling the story.
But he arranges them on the couch is what I love. There's like a guy barely breathing. One guy's got his eyes open, but you can't tell if he's a corpse with his eyes open. It's great.
It's almost Deadpool territory at this point, right? Like, this is something that Deadpool would do.
Yes. It totally is.
I do like a couple of times that Hutch has been having an internal monologue and it gets interrupted. Like somebody comes up to him and just stops his mid-thought and he can't even finish it, too.
Well, this is where he finds the kitty cat bracelet. He's in mid-monologue, and my gosh darn, the kitty cat bracelet was under the couch the whole time.
And I like that he's like, oh, fun fact, bone burns to ash at 1,500 degrees, but our basement's double that, so they're not going to find your body or any remnant of your body.
I do like the reality of This Way Out, right? Burning the house to the ground, because as the previous scenes are playing out, you're like, there's blood splatters everywhere, there's bullet holes everywhere, there's broken shit everywhere. There's no way you're going to clean this up. There's going to be cops there. Oh, he's going to burn it to the ground. All right, that's a realistic way to clean this up.
I kind of thought it might go John Wick, how like, you know, the cop showed up for John Wick and it's like, you working again, John? And like that. And then I'm like, well, this isn't a John Wick movie. I'm glad they don't do that. But that is actually how this movie's going to end. So they save that move for later. But yeah, here he has to burn down his house. One thing I noticed, and I loved it, is he's walking away from his house. One thing I didn't love, there's too much ironic music going on in this movie. I think, you know, playing What a Wonderful World while the house burns down. We've had so many calm, old-timey songs play for action at this point, and they're going to do more of it later. Just at a certain point, that becomes a tired joke. But while it's playing, while he's going to his boring car and then decides to steal the Charger, the neighbors are coming out because the house is on fire. And I got thinking, other than like The Burbs, I can't think of a movie where the neighbors actually came outside. And yet, if there's a fire engine or an ambulance in my neighborhood, everybody's on their front yard looking to see what's going on. It was the most realistic thing in this movie is that all the neighbors came out to watch the house burn.
We should point out the family isn't going to be threatened anymore. He sends them off, so they avoided the cliche of, the wife being the last person he has to save, or the daughter, and I think that's great. The burning down of the house, I felt it was a little symbolic. Like he's burning down that life. He's done pretending about that life. There's that line that he uses, I love this line, when he's talking to those guys, he's deep down, I always knew it was a facade, when he's talking about his suburban life, admitting that he could never have carried on with this normal life forever. I'm happy that real Hutch is here with us, and I'm confident that he'll be able to make the life work with his family, and we'll see that hopefully in a sequel, but there's more action.
But before he burns it down and steals the car, he does go into his pinball machine and take out some gold bars and a bunch of cash to take with him.
This is where the first time I saw the movie, I just slapped my forehead. I'm like, this is just like John Wick, who in his basement has that trunk with all the coins that he uses at the Continental and all the guns and everything else. I'm like, when I was in college, I turned in the exact same paper about Freddy and Jason kills in movies, and I just reworded it a little bit to fit each assignment, but it was the same paper. And I would just reword it a little. So I can't really judge the writer for just cribbing his own stuff.
To be fair, they weren't special gold coins for a special underground assassin network. It was just gold bars, which reads to me as he's been paid by some people with some very large means in the past.
This was never a spoof. The idea for a second was never that this was going to be a spoof, right, Arnie?
I think some of the writers that Odenkirk got to do early attacks of the concept made it a spoof, and that's not what Odenkirk wanted, and that's not what Kolstad wanted.
And that's good, because that's not what I want either. I'll preview this as part of my final thought. I don't want this to be part of the Wick universe. Like, I'm okay having John Wick in a separate world that doesn't have Hutch in it. I do like it, and I do like this world that they've built.
I'm enjoying it too, just because it's so obviously playing the John Wick riffs. Here's my equation for this. I might have used this on a different show, but we've done like 1,700 episodes, so I can say something twice. I like AC/DC. And at one point I bought their whole discography and went, all these songs sound alike. But I like AC/DC, so I like them. I don't really understand, with the exception of an outlier like Big Balls, I don't understand somebody who I like these AC/DC songs, but not these AC/DC songs, because they're all basically the same damn song.
I realized that like 10 years ago, Arnie, when I was working at a job when somebody had the whole album on over and over again. I'm like, hey, look, I like AC/DC, but only 3 songs at a time. After that, it's just the same thing over and over again.
He's right. 3 songs at a time is good. Yes. Make sure one of them is Money Talks.
So for those about to wick, I salute you. I'm fine with him remixing this formula and bringing it back.
Agreed. You get the writer of John Wick, you're going to expect the John Wick thing. But to Jason's point, I'm glad this isn't a spoof as well. Because you see Bob Odenkirk as the lead, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be kind of a funny spoof. And super happy they did not go that direction.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I probably would have turned this off halfway through if this had been, I don't know, Beverly Hills Ninja, only with an old guy instead of a fat guy or something. You know what I'm saying? So the house is burned down. He warns his dad some people might be coming for him. And this leads to a moment that could play in a spoof. Christopher Lloyd, who outside of Clue, I can't imagine him killing anybody.
Well, wait a second. What about Roger Rabbit? I mean, he was very villainous in that film.
Oh, true. You know, with the bald cap and everything, I actually lose him to that character. But yes, he did melt down people of Toontown.
Yep, he had his dip.
Here, the 2 hitmen go in. They think he's asleep or maybe dead.
Yeah, every time we see him, he's sitting in his chair watching some old westerns with lots of gunshots going off, and he's going to use that to his advantage here, because 2 thugs come in to take him out of the picture, but nope, he's got a sawed-off shotgun under his blanket, and he takes care of both of them.
Oh, but the most badass thing is he uses his finger to stop the hammer of the gun. Now, I've accidentally got my finger in the hammer of a gun. You don't just sit there and smile about that. That tears your flesh. That hurts like hell. But Christopher Lloyd in this scene is such a badass. He smiles as he does it and then uses the shotgun. And I'm going with this movie, but there's no way two shotgun blasts sound like something that could come off of a small TV like that.
As much as a lot of this is grounded, that is very exaggerated. Yeah, totally.
But Hutch is also off to, he made an overture earlier to his father-in-law that he wanted to buy his company. And at that point, I'm not sure if he really did want to own the company, but now he's about to make his father-in-law the great deal that he was waiting for and brings him a bucket of cash and some gold bars just so he can have the facility to make a kill box.
It is a great scene that he dumps out these gold bars and Michael Ironside is like, it's yours. And then the brother-in-law is like, don't I get a say in that? No, you don't. And just one of the best moments for the character. You know, this brother-in-law has been putting Hutch down for probably 15, 20 years. And at the end, the brother-in-law is like, but what am I gonna do? And Hutch just goes, I don't give a shit. It is like the hardest line. It reminds me of that line from Mad Men when the kid says, I feel bad for you, and Don's like, I don't think about you at all. Just that hard reply, that slick burn. That's what the I don't give a shit reminds me of.
He also leaves him with a pretty good shot to the breadbasket, too, where he has to sit him down and let him feel that pain for a little bit. But
yeah, that was a good punch because the brother-in-law like telegraphs his by about a mile. And hey, that's because he's not a real tough guy. Hutch is the tough guy.
So we're tying up loose ends everywhere here, which means we're racing towards a big finale.
But we gotta get another montage. Was I the only one thinking the A-Team when we see Hutch with some rebar and some various things? And it's just every episode of the A-Team had that we look around, oh, what have we got? We've got some rope, we've got some buckets, we've got some watermelons, we can make weaponized catapults.
We have to make a whole bunch of less than lethal ways to get people out of the picture.
Hey, that rebar spear gun thing is one of the baddest ass things that he creates.
So yeah, it just, we get this montage of him making all these weapons to go to this factory where I don't even know what this factory does. I think they just create dangerous things. At one point, an old lady comes to the door and there's a sign Hutch put up that said, closed by order of new management. And I'm like, was this lady coming to buy rebar? What do
No, she works there. She was there earlier. She's the one trying to get whatever was in the ceiling out. They thought maybe it was a raccoon or something. It was the kitty.
Okay, I thought she was a customer, and I do remember them looking for the raccoon or whatever in the ceiling. That would have been funny if that came back in the climax. A raccoon jumped out at somebody.
So yeah, Hutch is setting up his little kill box factory here. But first he has to goad Julian into following him here. So what does he do? He shows up at Julian's club and is sitting there just casually eating dinner in the middle of Julian's performance on stage. Such a badass move.
So effing cool.
It reminds me of that scene in True Romance where Drexel offers the egg roll and he's like, if you took an egg roll and sat down, I'd be like, this motherfucker ain't afraid of shit.
Caring like you ain't got a care in the world. And who knows? Maybe he don't. Maybe this fool's such a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
Same energy.
He comes for Julian. He's sitting down there. He's just staring at him like, I'm in your face, bitch. And he's already kind of set the joint up to get knocked down. He was pouring gasoline into the sprinkler system.
After he sets up the factory, he goes to the ob shack, breaks in, kills everybody there, and puts gasoline in the fire extinguisher system. And then he goes to Julian's. And it's not very clear if that's the same building or if they're not too far apart, but I don't know that it really matters.
You're right. He sets it all on fire before he's at Julian's. But Julian's singing The Impossible Dream, which there you go again with the songs in the movie.
I wasn't even sure if that's what Julian was singing. In fact, they said it on the commentary. The song that Julian was singing, they couldn't get the rights to use for the money they had. So that's why Julian's lips don't ever match up to The Impossible Dream. Because I couldn't tell, is he supposed to be singing The Impossible Dream? Is it just they're playing The Impossible Dream and he's singing something else?
He's singing Happy Birthday.
That's royalty free now. But yeah, when he pulls out that wrapped stack of burned $100 bills and Julian now knows the whole object is ash.
Now, my question is here, is Hutch really trying to get him to just walk away? Or is he trying to goad him into going back to the factory? Because I feel like he was fine either way. But honestly, I think he wanted the big face-off.
Oh yeah, I think he's giving the guy an out, but we see him with his fingers crossed when he's sitting in that car, like, please let them come after me. Please let them come after me. Please let them come after me.
Yeah, he knows that Julian wouldn't do it. Here's why I think that Hutch is determined and wants to get him back to the factory. It's that line where he's like, you came to my house, which you know you don't fucking do. It's like speaking to a guy who would understand the same language. It's like that line from Ocean's 13. It's like, you shook Sinatra's hand. You should know better. It's like, yeah, you don't come to my fucking house because now I'm going to take everything. And that's exactly what he's going to do.
That's why the more we have this conversation, the more I'm like, this guy is kind of a sociopath. He's kind of dangerous, and maybe I shouldn't be rooting for him quite as much as I am. I do think there is a falling down Michael Douglas reading of this movie where Hutch at the end goes, I'm the bad guy.
Remember when we were kids, and I don't know if it still kind of goes on with me today, you watch movies and you're like, and I want to be that dude. Then we get a little older and we realize, oh, sidebar, True Romance, you used to think Christian Slater's the coolest guy in the world, you know what I mean? And he is in that movie, but then you pull back and you really look at it, that's a really mental dude. You know, he's talking to Elvis, he's like a comic book bum guy. He's pretty fucked up. He is not somebody we want to be. And this is how we get back to Hutch.
I still want to be him, I don't care.
To your point, Jason, Hutch is fulfilling this middle-aged male fantasy, right? You can appear to be a disaffected nobody and still be this badass, just a quiet badass, right? He's not doing this performatively. He's not showing off for other people. He's just a badass.
So he's crossing his fingers, hoping they'll come. Crank up that pet Benatar. He's going to lead them all back to the factory.
In that Charger, in this kick-ass car chase, it's not the best action of the movie. All the best action of this movie involves hand-to-hand combat and some guns, but mostly hand-to-hand combat. I will credit this for all the John Wickishness of the plot structure. They don't do gun fu. They never go to that style of fight. It always feels so rough and improvised and making do with the weapons that he can find at hand. It feels like a brawl. It doesn't feel like a dance. And I really like that. And so the car chase is fine. I do like when he has to like lay the seat flat as people are shooting at him and he has to go in reverse because the bus is blocking him. I mean, that's kind of fun.
That was a little bit John Wickish. I mean, not as stylized and not as over the top, but yeah, still grounded within reality of this movie. So yeah, that was a fun little scene, but it does eventually end up back at his newly owned factory.
And how does Pops and RZA, Harry, his brother, how do they know this is going down? Because in my memory, I knew that Christopher Lloyd and RZA were there at the climax. But when I'm watching it, Hutch is surprised they're there. So how did they know he was going to lead everybody back to this place?
I'm not sure that they knew he was going to lead everybody back to the place, but he does talk to RZA a little bit before he goes to burn the money. RZA says, I'm not going to come out of hiding to help you. And so I guess maybe they changed his mind, and Christopher Lloyd probably called RZA and said, hey, these two dudes tried to kill me, so they both changed their mind. And they got to show up. They got to bring the ruckus.
And it is funny because we've only heard RZA over the radio, and so you may not know it's RZA. And so when we finally see RZA, he's got to say, hey, remember how I said I wasn't coming out of hiding to save your ass? Well, here I am telling the back row, in case you missed it, this is the guy who's been on the radio the whole time.
Well, I mean, it turns out RZA was only available for a couple days of shooting, but it does feel like he's in this movie throughout because of the radio interactions. But yeah, this is the first time we're seeing his face.
And he gets some good action here, but he's going to be deaf in 1 year from that I put my shotgun on my shoulder and shoot behind me mode. I mean, I don't care what kind of hearing protection you have. Shooting a shotgun 2 inches from your ear, that eardrum is gone.
Yeah.
One of the things I read about this was that the director and Derek Kolstad wanted a lot of realism in the action scenes. They brought in a firearms coordinator, and he spent a lot of time with Odenkirk talking about the physiological and psychological effects of sudden stress on the human body, and how time would seem to slow down, and tunnel vision, and loss of hearing. And I'm like, you had all that, and you still let RZA shoot a gun next to his ear?
Well, maybe he'll have a maxi pad taped to his ear in the next movie.
Oh my God.
He didn't have one in the mid-credits scene. And he wasn't shouting "what" all the time at Christopher Lloyd.
And now we're here in our climactic battle, and we are going to see everybody's going to get their moment. Hutch is going to fight right side by side with Christopher Lloyd. They do that wicked thing with the press goes down on the grenade and it blows things up. Like, he just leads these guys all to their death, and we get really good action. We get RZA shoots 3 guys through the head at the same time with the same bullet. I love that.
Triple headshot. Deadpool again.
Oh, that was an awesome moment. There's one shot that sticks out because there's no other shot like this in the whole movie, is when Hutch has to toss a pistol to, I think it's Christopher Lloyd, because he's out of bullets. And they just do this like CGI gunshot where we get a close-up of the handle as it's flying through the air. That kind of made me go, what is this shot? I haven't seen anything like it. I wrote it down in my notes when I'm watching this. Like, it's weird because we haven't been in that movie. The director talked about it on the commentary. He's like, we were under a lot of pressure, a lot of deadlines. We didn't have a lot of time to film this, so I didn't get a chance to do fancy things with the camera. So for this one shot, I wanted to say I could do fancy things with the camera. So he did this just sort of to flex, I guess, but it doesn't fit this movie.
You know where you've seen it before? Bad Boys Ride or Die. The directors who done the new Bad Boys movies threw that in the last movie a lot. The gun flying through the air, somebody catching it, a lot of the angles of the gun thing. That's where I saw it. I mean, that movie came after, so it might have been inspired by this Nobody Shot.
It's the hardcore Henry influence shining through, right? Lots of fun kills here. You already talked about the grenade. We talked about the rebar. He has a bunch of shotgun shells in holes in the wall. As people walk by, they just pop them in the head and they're going down. It's just a bloodbath in this place.
I loved Chekhov's gun in the freezer, where the gun that the brother-in-law gave him earlier that he didn't want, he put in like some lunch in the freezer, and now he needs a gun at the last minute. He's like, oh yeah, I've got that gun in the freezer, and he shoots through the box at people.
That's what's awesome about that shot, is when he fires it off, the box comes flying apart like a piñata exploding as the gun's firing. So this is all very stylish, it's all very cool, and it's all going at the right pace, by the way, because we're almost to the end of this movie, but we're getting there fast, and I'm keeping up.
It's certainly not protracted. I was surprised how quickly they go from, oh my God, we're all out of ammo, and most of us have non-lethal bullet wounds, to I'm going to just grab a glass door and tape a claymore to it and run right at Julian.
Okay, first of all, Julian's got nothing left but his slick-ass silver jacket, okay? So that's how he's going to go down. But did all you guys try to research this like I did with the claymore up against the bulletproof glass to find out if it could really happen?
I didn't even know what it was. Is this plexiglass? I mean, I'm assuming this isn't real glass because there's no way that would hold up.
It's bulletproof glass that you could see, he's taking Julian's bullets before it blows. And when I looked it up, because a claymore mine detonates out, front towards enemy, like it says, theoretically, he should be fine. I find it crazy that the glass didn't break, and I think in real life it probably would. There's no Mythbusters on this, but my internet research, and I believe everything that I read on the internet, tells me that this is possible.
It's just plausible enough for me not to think too much about it, right? It's like, whatever that material is, it's taking some bullets, and like you said, a claymore fires out. Sure, I'm going to give the movie that. It's not asking me to believe that he got in a refrigerator and survived a nuclear blast, right? It's a little smaller than that.
No. And it's Chekhov's claymore, by the way. He set it up in the nightclub.
But hey, this is going to be the end here. We're going to have a very brief epilogue where, Hutch needs a new house. And so we're going to jump 3 months later. And, you kind of got to wonder what happened to his marriage. And is he going to still have a family after all of this? Well, yeah, he and his wife are looking for a new house. And does it have a basement?
You always got to have that bump line.
Yeah, I mean, I think more so it tells us that she's on board and understands that he's back in this life.
Meanwhile, Pops and Rizza have a van full of guns to go to a sequel.
Yeah, they're definitely driving off to the sequel. I thought about it myself, and I'm like, huh? No, sequel.
I guess we'll find out soon enough, right? Like, are these guys both back? That's what Jason says, so...
They're in the trailer.
I knew these two were back. I didn't know the barber was back or anything, but I knew those two were back. So, Jason, Justin, do you recommend Nobody to Anybody? Jason.
Yeah, I do. Surface level, kind of uncomplicated action flick. It's just from the dual identity, undercover secret agent subgenre that we've seen before. It's different here because of the people who are involved. It's different here because we have Odenkirk. It's different here because we have this director. And I know that that first movie he did wasn't a hit, but at least he's able to just put together a good lean and mean movie that's done in 90 minutes. He got himself a great star. Odenkirk nails the performance at all the right moments. He knows when to be subtle. He knows when to dial it up just a notch. And he brings those layers that I've talked about with the character throughout this movie. I'm still glad it didn't go on forever, but I was interested in the marriage parts, the early stuff, before we get to a lot of the action. We've seen relationship movies where the spark is gone between the couple and they're going through the motions. This is different. This is tension and emotional distance, but it's not because they fell out of love. It's because Hutch, this guy, is dying under the weight of pretending to be somebody he's not. And I think that people can relate to that. They're not all former agents, but they can relate to that life or that relationship that's really just worn down by the routine. So I think this movie has a lot to say about that. It has a lot to say in the early part about performative masculinity and wannabe tough guys. We've talked about this, all these guys posturing, pretending they'd be some kind of hero in a crisis. And Odenkirk is like the real hero. He's not trying to show off his skills, so he's keeping it all inside. He knows he was never built for this normal life. He's not even a hero. He's anti-hero. It's like Wolverine. Wolverine will always say, I'm the best at what I do, and what I do is not very nice. That's what Hutch is doing here. A movie like this, you gotta balance the humor and the brutality, and I think that nobody really pulls it off. It's genuinely funny from a dark place, just like you mentioned, Justin, with the black comedy. It's over the top in the best ways. I mentioned that it's very grounded in parts and it's exaggerated in others. Not as exaggerated as Wick, but it is still. I think it keeps us grounded enough to feel for and relate to Hutch and his family, and I think that a lot of couples can identify with that struggle they're going through. It's a breeze, fills up its 90 minutes, we get a pile of bodies, we get a happy ending, end of story. So Nobody is a recommend. I'm glad it was a hit, and I look forward to a sequel. I hope it's a good movie. We'll see if it's as successful.
Justin.
Yeah, Jason, you said something there that made me realize where I am with the John Wick universe. I really liked the first John Wick. And it's because it gave us a story that we could wrap our arms around and get behind this main character. And the further that franchise goes, it gets further away from that motivation, thus making me feel less connected to that character and why he's doing what he's doing. Here we get a fresh start. We get that connection again. It's a new character, it's a new story, it's a fresh connection, and I can get behind this guy. And that's, I think, what even the ballerina is missing. Yes, it's a new person, but I couldn't get behind her motivation for what she was about to go out and do. Here, I'm 100% behind Hutch. I'm feeling so many things in Hutch's life that are parallel to my life, and maybe it's just being a guy of that age. But But yeah, this is a middle-aged man fantasy come to life. And like we said earlier, I was a little bit afraid coming into this that it might have been a spoof. You see Bob Odenkirk on the poster, you think, oh, he's a goofy guy. I've seen him play somewhat serious in Better Call Saul. I don't know if I want to get into this. But I gotta tell you, if you only know Odenkirk from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, this is a completely different portrayal. This is a completely different character, and he nails it. Like, I think it helps that he has a comedic background because you get some funny stuff just from his facial tics and things that he says, but he's never overly comedic here. He's not playing this for laughs, yet he's still a funny guy. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie, and I think it came through in my review. This reawoke in me what that original John Wick gave us. And so if this franchise wants to continue, I hope they hold on to that. Because without that core, it's just going to turn into another Wick world. And I fear we'll be 6 movies in at some point not giving a shit why Bob Odenkirk's kicking the shit out of all these people. We'll talk about that next time. We're not there yet. So my recommend of this movie, I'm going to steal a line from Hutch's dad, Pops. It was a bit excessive, but fucking glorious. This movie delivered in a way that I didn't think it could. And I'm also going to throw a bonus recommend on top of this. If you haven't seen Mr. Show like Arnie, I highly recommend it. It's on HBO. Go watch it. It's a great show.
And I've said it repeatedly, I'm going to say it again. Nobody is a John Wick clone straight out of the same assembly line that gave us Atomic Blonde and John Wick and hell, even Violent Night and Bullet Train, all these 87 North productions. It's practically a subgenre now of this secret badass. And yeah, they're starting to feel a little mass-produced, but honestly, that's not a complaint. It kind of takes me back to the 80s when Canon Studios would churn out wall-to-wall action, would get Missing in Action, American Ninja, Delta Force, or when I'd get just jazz seeing the Carol Co. logo before First Blood Part 2 or Total Recall, Rambo 3 and Red Heat. The difference is 87 North has a bigger budget and better polish, but the same kind of comfort food action vibe is there. So I don't think nobody is going to reinvent any wheels. None of these movies have. They're all riffing on the same action formula that they started with John Wick. They're swapping out the lead actor and sometimes the villain's accent, but here they went back to Russian. But you know what? When the formula is fun, it works. And I think Nobody is a really fun take on the secret badass recipe. The fight scenes are the main course here, and coming from Leach's crew, I'd expect nothing less. Honestly, if the action sucked in one of these movies, the whole thing would fall apart. And it doesn't. The fights have variety. They escalate. I was never bored. And as we've all said, this movie doesn't overstay its welcome. Tight, 90 minutes, in and out, no filler. But what really makes or breaks a movie like this is what happens between the punches, and on that front, nobody really delivers. Odenkirk is charming and gritty as Hutch, and yeah, knowing that he did most of his own fight work gives it some extra edge. Christopher Lloyd as a shotgun-toting retiree is just a lot of fun. The bad guys are there to be menacing and chew up the screen with some accents, and most of them don't last long, but it works for what it is. So, yeah, I think nobody would argue that this isn't a fun, funny, no-nonsense action movie. It keeps things simple and delivers, honestly, more pure entertainment than most of the later tangled John Wick sequels, just like you said, Justin. So it's a solid recommend for me.
You hit on something there about comfort food. There's really nothing wrong with comfort food. All those Carol films that you mentioned, always loved watching them back in the day. And when it comes to formula, I think that movies like this really hinges on the star. So they got the right guy for this movie.
They did, and really, the right guy got this movie. Again, Odenkirk started this ball rolling. He came in and said, give me one of these films. I want to do this. And he's, one of the producers of this and his production company. So he was right. I like so much of his creative output that I've seen, from SNL to various roles he's done to even a movie that I think nobody in the world but me likes with let's go to prison. And I think he just has a good creative impulse, and this is yet another one. But sequel? Whew, I'm iffy. I gotta say, I'm a little nervous. First of all, it's been like 6 years since they actually filmed this, because it sat on a shelf for 2 years thanks to COVID. And sometimes going back to the well isn't always the best choice. Sometimes you really continue the story in a logical way that just keeps the fun going. Here, they've got a new director coming in, and Derek Kolstad is a co-writer and story by on this. I just hope it's as good.
That's kind of where I'm at, too. It's like, I'm not sure that Ilya was the magic sauce here. Maybe he was just one part of it. I can't say until we see the new one. But part of me is a little afraid that, with a little bit of a different creative direction here, things could go awry. But we'll see.
Yeah, the guy who's doing this new one is an Indonesian director, so he's done some Indonesian action picks and some horror stuff over the years. You are right to be skeptical, I think, Arnie. There's a lot about the first Nobody that shouldn't really have worked and been a hit in theaters. First of all, COVID going against it, the fact that it was an original action film, the fact that America loves Bob Odenkirk, they've never seen him headline an action movie before, and that was a big risk. Now we get a sequel that's coming out in August, 4 years later, and you just wonder if the box office is going to be there the way it was the first time. Sometimes this happens, the sequel comes out and nobody goes to see it. We've seen successful sequels. I'm going to go with Accountant 2 earlier this year. I know it didn't make $1 billion or anything like that, but people had good things to say about Accountant 2, and it did make some money. This movie, by the way, we didn't really mention it at the beginning, but nobody blew up on streaming. I think this is the kind of movie that's tailor-made to be a smash hit on a Netflix kind of thing. We're talking a 90-minute movie with a guy you recognize beating people up and doing a beatdown. I think even the sequel could be a big hit on streaming.
I mean, I'll say they've definitely spent some money marketing this movie. It's everywhere as far as previews and trailers and all that stuff. So hopefully what it's done is gotten people to go back and stream this if they haven't seen it and get excited to go back and see this movie that they didn't realize was out 4 years ago.
Agreed. Well, we will find out next week. In the meantime, this Friday, we are playing catch up. If you were a spring donor with donation drive that ended a long time ago, we are finally able to finish that series off by delivering Ghost in the Shell, the Scarlett Johansson 2017 live action movie review. And if you didn't donate in the spring, all of our donation shows are available for a one-time donation. Just pick which episodes you want to hear on our Patreon shop. If you go to patreon.com/nowplayingpodcast, you can click the shop button and find all our old donation shows, including the entire Ghost in the Shell retrospective series, or Jurassic Park, or Indiana Jones, Ghostbusters, Men in Black, all of our donation shows going all the way back to Child's Play. You can find those on Patreon. So thank you to all of the donors who've been very patient for this Ghost in the Shell review. We're excited Stuart is back among us and able to review that.
Very much so. He's right back in the saddle like he was never gone.
So thank you for listening. Jason, Justin, thank you for joining me. And until next time, das Vidanya.
You were told to leave.
So what are you still doing in town, old man?
Here with my family, making memories.
He's making memories, huh?
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review.
Just a bit excessive, but glorious.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
It was good. It was better than I expected.
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
You had my back, and I'm proud of you.
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
You guys having fun at the convention?
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, Star Wars, and Transformers.
Come on, kids. It can be an adventure.
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
Come back. Deal with us then.
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
What if we say no?
All hell breaks loose.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at NowPlayingPodcast.com.
I'd love that. But, can we afford it?
I guess the real question is, can we afford not to?
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews available for a one-time contribution.
Come on, you gotta give me something.
Need more Now Playing? Subscribe to our In Focus weekly newsletter for exclusive digital download giveaways, celebrity interviews, behind-the-scenes insights, and more. Sign up through the subscribe page on our website and get it delivered to your inbox every Friday.
They say God doesn't close one door without opening another. Please, God, open that door.
You can also compare notes with us on Letterboxd. Go to letterboxd.com/nowplaying to see what our hosts are watching when we're not recording podcasts.
That's a whole other level of recklessness, man.
I gotta do what I gotta do.
And follow Now Playing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.
I am just so happy that we're all together.
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
I've come to terms with the fact that you don't have an average job, but we haven't seen you in months.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
See, I've been pushed around for long enough. So from now on, I'm the fucking man.
Now Playing is edited by Santiago and Arnie.
I just want a break.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
Hey, use your words.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
What I don't like is people who try to fuck up my peace of mind.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein.
There's no need for this. This is all a big misunderstanding.
All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
Now, hold on a minute. I get a say in this.
No, you don't.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
There are other ways to handle things.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2025, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
I owe you everything. My life before you was, well, you know. Thanks for letting me pretend I was someone else. If you give me another chance, I'll try to get it right this time. I love you.
And what's funny about that is who else got a start on Seinfeld? Bryan Cranston as the dentist.
Tim Whatley.
Yes. He became Jewish for the jokes.
You're an anti-dentite.
Next they're going to be saying they have their own schools. They do have their own schools.
We could have gone longer than some of the shots that the sets allowed us to do, as compared to Liam Neeson in Taken, where you have 8 cuts in the 5 seconds because he can only do one thing at a time.
Dude, keep Liam Neeson's name out your mouth. You've only got 2 pictures under your belt. 3 now. We talked about fake tough guys and stuff in this movie. I don't know about Liam Neeson yet. I'm pretty sure he can fuck people up.
I recently met Christopher Lloyd at a con. I've probably been at 20 cons with Christopher Lloyd, and I never got his autograph. And I finally realized, as we're starting to lose our celebrity heroes, maybe I should get his autograph because time's passing and eventually some con will be his last con. So I got the autograph and I got the photo op, and his manager told me to go around the table. But I guess Christopher Lloyd didn't hear that because Christopher Lloyd looked scared as hell when I was standing right next to Christopher Lloyd all of a sudden. He's like, what the fuck is going on here? And I'm like, I didn't mean to scare you. I was told to come here for the photograph.
I just felt that he'd like jump into gym mode from Taxi and what are you doing here, fellas?
He recognized you. That's the Howard the Duck guy.
So, having seen Christopher Lloyd as a startled old man, I think in this scene, he could be dead. You know, is he playing asleep or is he playing dead?